So I'm going to get my text tool, click once on my screen, type in a phrase. I'll scale it up, choose the font that I want. I wouldn't choose something that has a lot of like individual detail or little parts and pieces, like something like that. That's not really ideal to do like an offset path. You want something that has, you know, some boldness to it. Um, Something like this is probably not another ideal choice because it has individual lines inside of it, so it's not a good choice. But like something like this is good, something that has some weight to it. I'm trying to find something a little bit more. I'll choose something like this, and then you can use the text or character palette to kind of style things the way you might want it. Like maybe I want this to be much bigger and maybe set apart a little bit, and maybe I want this to be a little bit smaller, and I want to center everything. Okay, and maybe even rotate slightly. Okay, so I figured out that this is what I want. I'm gonna go up to type, create outlines. The shortcut is Command Shift O. So Command Shift O creates outlines. Now, I'm going to undo for a second because I want to show you under View, Outline. This is the way text looks. You know it's text because it has a line, it has a baseline here. There's a little X that shows you where the center point is and everything. All these other things are not filled in, so it looks like the vector paths, right? Once I go to type, create outlines, this becomes paths and shapes. So you can no longer type anymore, right? So now it becomes artwork or vector artwork. And when you do this, now you have the ability, I'm going to go back to view, preview. So now you have the ability to go in with your direct selection tool and start to modify what some of these things look like. So if I grab this shape, now I can start to play around with how this stuff looks. I can pull stuff. I can round edges, which is also pretty cool. You know, so now if I were to select this whole thing, let me undo. Use my tool here, go to this, and now I want to slightly round all the edges that are sharp, and I want to take this and just kind of pull this in slightly, and now so it's not so harsh and sharp around all those edges, and it did it consistently around. All right, so now I did that. I can select these things. Maybe I want cool to have a different offset than the rest of it, but if not, I can select it all at the same time. So I have it selected, go to Object, Path, Offset Path. Click on Preview. Now this is what's going to happen. This is going to be expected, right? So from here, I'm going to click on Preview. What I'm looking at is I want all of this to be a certain distance. Like I want to get the back all filled in first. So maybe I need to extend this a little bit more, and I'm trying to get this information to be covered, right? So I want this to be covered up. So I'm going to press OK because if I go any further in distance, I think that's too much. Kind of covers it all up, but I think it's a little bit too much. So I'm going to go back down, Press OK. In my layers, I need to look for my layers. Where's my layers here? Right here, this is the group. Everything is listed individually. And that is bad. Don't do that. That's so bad, right? So what I need to do is press Command G. And what that's going to do is allow me to isolate. Okay? And I'm going to take that group out of the group that already exists. And now I can isolate this particular group and I can change the color. Let's say to yellow. And in the layer, I can move this layer below the other one and it's still there. Now, the problem with this is still I have all of this kind of open areas. I want this to be filled in. So let me change this yellow to a different color, like a blue. Okay. I'm gonna hide the I'm so cool layer. And what I'm gonna do with my Pathfinder is I'm gonna select all of this information, because now, just so you know why I'm doing what I'm getting ready to do, is if I change the properties to add a stroke to this information, let's say I add a red stroke and I increase the red stroke. You see what's happening? That red stroke is for each individual letter. But what I need to happen is I want that red stroke to go all around the edges. And so the way I do that is in my Pathfinder, I click on Unite. Unite allows me to share one stroke, and where everything overlaps, it has one fill. So with this section here, with the group selection tool, I can go in and I can either remove by deleting, or I can take another shape, select both of them, and unite again. That make sense? Okay, and so I unite that, and then in my layers, since I isolated the groups, this group will go below, and now you have that. Now, in order to get the look like this, there's multiple offsets at different sizes. So this offset was probably like 0.25 or 3.5 or 0.5, and then you would do another offset that's a little bit less to get another color, like white, and then the magenta or red, and then you have another darker blue, and then you have the light blue. So these are offset at different, I guess, different numbers or different number values to get a greater distance in terms of color. And the book shows you step by step. It brings you step by step on doing that. But in terms of how you get to that point, it's here. It's being able to select the text, offset the text at different values, and also being able to control which layer is on top of the other. Okay? And remember, each one of these, they don't have to stay in the exact same place. If I select it and I move it down slightly or over to the right, you start to get a different look. And it all depends on the style of what you're doing in terms of the size of strokes and the color value, things like that. Those are all going to matter in terms of what it looks like. Okay? So you're going to use offset path to try to stylize a phrase or a saying. Okay? Awesome.